So I am here today to discuss my internship hours of 25 hours at each level, 25 at elementary, 25 at middle, 25 at high school, and 25 at the central office. And I just want to discuss how I met the standards of the course and the activities that I was a part of throughout this semester to improve my knowledge in these standards.
I think we should start with elementary, or actually we can just start with the first standard, and you kind of give me a quick overview of how you feel that you met the components of that standard. So, because I've looked at and reviewed all of your documentation, I looked at your hours, and I see for myself where you've met those components. But if you could just talk to the fact, standard 1, planning for continuous improvement, how do you feel through your experiences that you met that?
I think being a part of professional development, leading the professional development, I did the one at the state professional development with Ron Berger. That truly helped. And then looking at pacing guide training that I was a part of at the middle school, I felt like that was a good way for teachers to see where they were and kind of have like a mindset and a goal in mind to keep going throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
So at the high school level, curriculum night, that also opened the doors for incoming 8th graders to come in and see what kind of courses they were able to take. And then the central office, I was able to be a part of several different ESL meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon was really helpful. I was able to see how Teacher of the Year was voted on. So that was really, really neat to watch that and see that take place.
It's good to be able to see the different grade levels, a little variety there, and I like the fact that you have at least the 25 hours at the central office too, because it's very, very varied on what your experiences were. I know the central office actually has commented a couple times through my meetings over the last few weeks on your participation up there, and they've very much appreciated it and been very impressed with your input.
Great.
One of the comments was that you're self-confident enough that you provide input, and that's very important, thinking ahead as a leader. So, and then I know some things that you've done within our building and things that you will continue to do here too. So I definitely feel that you met the criteria for that, and I scored you above average in that area because just from what you've done and then my knowledge of you and what you do for our building. So great job. Teaching and learning.
Teaching and learning was,
yeah,
that was a lot. I feel like that was a lot everywhere I went.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Even as
You
an
continuously teach and
teaching
learn.
and learning.
And that's why I told my kids, I learn something new every day as well. And they don't ever think like that. They think that we should know everything.
Well, and to speak to that in just a minute, and this is just my personal belief also, but I think it's very important that when you are an administrator, that you set those standards for yourself so that your staff sees that you are a continuous learner.
Right.
I think that's very important.
Okay. Taking part in PCN.
Yeah.
But teaching and learning, I'm actually presenting a PowerPoint at the board meeting on Monday. That's going to teach the board members about what the wonderful things we're doing here at our school. So I felt like that was a big part of that standard, was not only teaching others, but learning more about what we need to do around the school as well.
I would agree. And then when you look at some of your other areas grade level meetings, participating in data meetings and providing input there at various grade levels. So I think that's, and then go back to your curriculum night that you participated in, that could even fall there. You didn't even mark it there, but technically that could be another aspect of it. The parent meetings, all that, you're teaching, and learning. So yeah, great job. Above average, definitely. So human resource development, what do you think there?
I feel like this one was a little tough at times.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I think of human resource, I think of more central office staff. So one thing I think where I met this standard was looking at the pageant practice that I was looking at, that I was involved in, that involved PTO.
You have a good bit with your ESL too.
ESL.
Participation at the high school and the central office.
ESL was huge. Central office allowed me tons of ESL opportunities. And even here, I was able to come back and observe Michelle with the ESL and see some things that she's doing for a PLU that we're doing for Shannon. So that was helpful.
Well, and then also when you think about the board presentation that you've prepared and that you're going to present, all of those things tie into that human resource. And even just the way you communicate and work with families and your staff and the community members, all of that, to me, ties into that human resource development.
Okay.
It's critical. And that's something that as you move forward in administration, you have to really make sure you focus on that, maintaining those relationships within, all aspects.
Right. Not just your school, but everywhere.
It's critical.
Yes.
Yeah. So, above average. What about diversity?
Diversity was, I feel like our system provides many opportunities to see a diverse aspect. And so, our school, just setting up for Leadership Day, the middle school being able to sit in on PTO meeting, PST meetings, seeing that, high school, the ESL planning meetings that I was a part of, they are, and then the central office in conjunction with our other ESL teachers and new coming teachers, planned the summer planning, the PD for the summer in July. So I was able to see the guest speakers who's coming, what classes they'll be teaching those 2 days. So and I think it's gonna be great.
I looked at that, I saw that, but I didn't realize that you actually helped plan.
I was there and I was helping, trying to come up with some ideas, but of course the ESL knows.
Well, but that's good.
But it's great.
It's good experience.
Yeah, because we have ESL kids in our classroom. So.
Well, and there was one thing that I noticed that you, and so I gave you an above on that, or an average on this, and a teetered but when I look at the standard, and it talks about staff hiring, management of fiscal, those kind of things, or staff hiring, sorry, I moved on to the next one already, but you haven't had opportunity really to do that.
Right.
So it's hard for me to say that it's above average, because there are some things in there. There's a column for not, but there is a lot that you did that you covered those things. So that's why I went with average
Right,
there.
okay.
So hopefully they'll understand that.
Right.
Community and stakeholder relationships.
Well, this is going back to what we were talking about. The board meeting, the preparing for the board members to come that day and meeting them up front and helping prepare for that. The leadership day that we're having, just preparing for that, getting the community involved. I went to basketball duty at the high school, and that was an experience in itself. I was able to,
different, isn't it?
right, I was able to work alongside all administrators because they were all there, and then of course they had, Dr. Cafield was there, and of course fans and students from another school, and I was able to experience an incident, discipline there at the basketball game. So I think seeing that really opened my eyes to just a little of what high school administrators do. And then the community, continuing with community and stakeholder, I think just being at the central office too, like we were talking earlier, being a part of that a lot with that stakeholder relationship for sure.
Well, and in a small system, in a small community, it's very important everywhere. Having previously worked in a large system and a larger community, but in a small community, those relationships are really critical.
Right.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's very tight knit, and I think that's something that we can benefit from.
So good job, above average. Technology, that was an easy one for
Oh
you.
yeah, I felt like technology
You're
was
really good there.
everywhere.
That's a strength of yours.
It's data meetings from PowerPoints to technology training. I went to several technology trainings at the middle school. They have an actual teacher that teaches the staff, and he's great. I mean, and I think they have to take a quiz at the end. But technology was everywhere.
Yeah, and as I said, I know your use of technology. I've experienced that myself here at this building, so that's a real strength. And that's a strength that even when I was hiring an assistant principal a few years ago,
Right.
I looked for someone that was very strong in technology, because my generation, I've learned a lot through the
Right.
last few years, but that was not one of my main strengths.
Mhm.
So something one of my administrators told me several years ago: when you hire, you don't want to hire someone just like yourself.
Mhm.
So you want to make sure you're covering.
Very diverse.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind. Food for thought. Above average, management of the learning organization. This is the one that I kind of went into before, but I kind of did the same thing here as diversity. I went with a 3 on average, simply because more of just your time or your the practice, and you
Mhm.
just haven't had a lot of exposure
Right.
to the physical management, so that's something as you move forward and you do your actual residency, you'll want to make sure that you sit down with that administrator and get them to explain that process
Okay.
to you.
Okay.
But some of the things that you did definitely provided me, I felt, sufficient amount to say that
Mhm.
you were average in that area.
Okay. Yeah, organizing,
Mhm.
organizational skills.
Mhm. And again, just what I've experienced with you here, the organizing of the PowerPoint, just different things
Right.
here, leadership days we've, alluded to, so.
Right.
Ethics.
Ethics. This is another one I think I could use some more experience on. I put leadership day, looking at the flyer for leadership day. I also taught access training that I went to at the central office, just knowing all of those laws that you have to follow as a teacher, even when we do standardized testing, how powerful that is to make sure you follow rules so you don't get your teaching certificate taken away. So I think that was the biggest one that stuck out to me, was going to access training and seeing the depth of that.
Mhm. Well, and I gave you above average because I see you on a day-to-day basis and see how you interact in your professionalism with parents, with staff, with students, and then in addition to what you did through your internship. But that's something that you want to continuously remind yourself of. Go back, look at that, remind your staff,
Okay.
of those components, those certain little things that could easily get somebody.
Right. Oh yeah, just any little thing.
But good job.
Thank
Very,
you.
very nice job. You are going to be an asset.